Welcome to another edition of Supernatural Station. I'm your host, Roman Daniels, and joined with me is my brother, Jaron Daniels, and my cousin, Sean Lawrence.
Hey yo, how's it going? I was mimicking him in the background. Only the video saw that. What's up, Sean? Good to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be on again, and I liking the setup, guys. What's going on with this?
Yeah, we got a new thing going. We're gonna try some video formatting. We're gonna try. Hopefully you guys like our faces. You know, we're gonna try to show our face a little bit more, not just audio. So
I mean, our faces are wrecked, but what I can tell you, and this is, I didn't shave right or something. We'll see. Somebody's gonna say something, but what I can tell you is this: I'm a visual creature. I bet you at least more than half of y'all's is the same. So
yeah,
we're excited to have a video and audio going. So
yeah. So what are we talking about today? We got some pretty cool subjects, right? Today, who wants to go on this one?
oh man, I think we talked doppelganger first. Here's what's cool. I mean, me and Roman.
Isn't there a doppelganger right next to me?
Exactly.
Yeah, which one of you guys is the evil one?
I wore the hat on purpose.
I
right?
think
the black hat.
I think Rome's the evil one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really do think Rome's the evil one. I know that's messed up to say, but like, you know, Joe Jonas and Nick Jonas talk about who has the better singing voice, and Joe says he has the better singing voice, and Nick says he has the better singing voice. It's the same thing here. Like we don't know who's the evil one, who's the good one. There's like it's tough, but we'll see.
The whole thing about doppelgangers is that duality idea, right? So isn't there a little bit of good and evil in all of us?
That is true, and I wouldn't call you guys doppelgangers because you both are still alive. I think there's some kind of folklore about if you see your own doppelganger, bad stuff happens, right? Like you end up dying or something. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to discuss it tonight.
Yeah, I don't think we're categorized as doppelgangers, but y'all be the judge. How about that?
All right, well, I kind of wanted to start off with what a doppelganger is, right? Let's just go into it. And you know, we're reading this on a web page and stuff, but a doppelganger is a mysterious exact double of a living person. It's a German word that literally just translates to double walker or double goer. A doppelganger isn't someone who just resembles you, but is an exact double, right down to the way you walk, act, talk, and dress. A friend or even a close relative who encounters a doppelganger will swear it was you, even though you can prove you were not in the location that the double was sighted.
I will say though that reminds me of when we went to the holiday party for our work, and Anna that you work with saw me and she freaked out.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so much the same!" She was freaking out, like almost like she was looking at a double, like for real.
Is that just because of the twin
Yeah.
idea thing?
Because
Okay.
she hadn't met me yet. So
But it
she's
gives
like,
you the reaction that people would have.
It felt weird like that, yeah. And then
Right.
and then Roman had the same thing happen with my ex coworker Sinaida.
That's
That's like a
right.
sister of mine,
That's right.
Bosnian. She's amazing,
Yeah.
and she loves me. Like we're close. So she goes over to Roman and she's all hugging on Roman and she's like,
I almost never met her, and she's
and she's like, "I'm so sorry, I'm hugging you. You remind me of Jared so much. It's just so
Yeah.
tough, you know." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is crazy."
So funny.
So there's something to it, y'all. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of original. I mean, this stuff goes back centuries. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking
Oh,
all
yeah.
the way back from. I mean, crap. I actually recall some things from even like I don't know what is it. I don't know. It was like BC time. Right. It was like writings of BC.
Movies are all about it too, like Superman, old 1970s, like Christopher Reeves. Remember he had that one where he had the evil and the good Superman, and
Yeah.
there's so many movies where it's all about doing the good and the evil version of each other.
Well, this
And-
this
or
is
the-
a completely different thing than like you know, finding someone who looks just like you, who's actually a real person, right? Like a twin that you never knew you had, which that happens a lot too, which is really scary, by the way. You know,
This is a double
this
baka.
is like something
Doppelgänger.
supernatural.
This is like
you
an
know?
exact copy, right?
Yeah.
Almost like right-click copy, right
Copy
copy
paste.
paste. kind of an idea.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I am an IT guy, so yeah, everything's IT.
It's mapped out, Matrix life. This is a big grid right here. If the camera was looking at it, it's a grid, and I'm up here on like 7 3/4.
I think one of the stories, I think probably the most famous one you see out on the internet right now is the one of Emily Sagey. Have you ever heard of that story?
Mm-mm.
No, I kind of wanted to wait till you told me because I know you sent it to me earlier, but I like to have the actual raw reaction.
Yeah,
so.
well, the kind of thing is I don't really want to tell that story because it's all over. If you
Yeah.
guys want to go find that story, it's everywhere, and I was hoping to find some more that maybe don't get quite the attention.
That's
Yeah.
good. I like
But that
that.
is
though.
the
more our
number
style,
one.
yeah.
That is the number one famous.
It's Emily Sagey.
Emily Sagey or
Sagey.
Sagey.
We're terrible at pronunciation.
Yeah,
with last
we're
names,
probably
you know?
butchering it. But no, it's good. I would definitely, if you haven't heard of that one, go out and watch some of the videos or whatever it is that's out there because it's really kind of creepy and it takes place in a classroom.
Ew.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's a double that shows up.
yeah. It's
A double bop
the
beer?
teacher ends up being a double. I don't want to give it away, but
Wow.
ultimately, the students actually end up approaching this
Entity.
whatever it is,
Oh, no
and they tried to they tried to reach out and grab it, and there was something about it that kept them from being able to make contact with it.
What if
Oh,
it's a
weird.
reptilian? You know how it's like reptilian, chameleon, all the kids be chilling. Like it's like the reptilians they're very good at like concealing, right?
Yeah.
What if it's something like that? I'm on the reptilian kick because of that video.
So it could be that. It could be what we've talked about in the past with the fairies and the fae. And I was reading as I was doing a little bit of research on this that sometimes one of the explanations is that it's some kind of a psychic projection of yourself, which would make sense with your story about like how they couldn't touch it. It's almost like this magnetic thing that would like pull it away from pull someone from being able to touch it or something. So I thought that was interesting, but. Yeah, so I was just going to say really quick, because this part's really, really interesting. It talks about how, they've been around for centuries. A great deal of superstition has developed around them. Traditionally, they've been viewed as sinister or even evil entities, so like an evil version of yourself, right? And that's kind of what Sean was saying earlier. And then, it also says that they are considered to be a cause of omens or misfortune, bad luck, that kind of thing.
Which is so true because it would be bad luck. If there's an evil version of you hanging around, like they're going to cause some real big issues for you as a person. They could walk into a bank and then they're just robbing that crap, dude. Like they're not playing around, they're evil. And then you walk into that bank and you're like going to pull your checking money and they're like, nope, we froze your account. You just came in here and robbed this crap, dude. So yeah, you never know.
I have a personal story that I just wanted to throw in here that's kind of funny. It actually relates to my brother too, but there's this 7-Eleven around the corner that we go to sometimes. And it's funny because, and I don't know if we covered this on the show before, but
Sean, you're gonna love this. I think you've heard of that.
It is so weird because every time I go there, and same goes with my brother, and we verified this together on separate occasions, but we don't go together, we go at separate times, right, individually on our own, and whenever we go into this place, the guy that owns the place, he's always talking about some life that we don't actually live. Like he thinks we're somebody else. He's like, oh, how's your daughter? How's your wife? Like
he goes like this. Here's the example, right? I'll walk in. What I'm going for is those energy drinks. I shouldn't be drinking them, but I do it. I'm walking in there, getting a bang or a rain or whatever you call it.
Bucked up all the way.
I like that Swedish Fish ghost lately. But
Wow.
So I'll be walking in there, right, for one of those. And as I walk in, this dude's like, hey, yeah. He gets a little, like, more high energy.
Yeah, like he knows us personally.
Like we played poker last week or something. And he's all, hey, yeah. How's your daughter? How's your mother? How's your wife? I'm like, they're all great. I don't have a daughter.
That's the worst part about this whole thing is that we just play it off like we're him.
Game.
We've both done that every time instead of like having the cojones to be like, hey, I think you got the right guy or the wrong guy.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Why don't you guys just tell him?
I think it's like the thespian lifestyle in me where it's like I want to play a part.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
It's
fun.
like the improv class.
Think about this guy might pass away one day and he'll never know the truth.
No, but here's what really happens.
Never know what's going on.
This is what really happens though. What really happens is the real dude walks in the next week and he's like, I saw you here last week. How you still doing? I didn't walk in here last week, bro. He's the one that has the cojones to say it. And so now this owner's like freaked out as all hell, I bet, because like, who's this other? This is the real one that I played poker with. Who are these other two guys?
I just keep going there so that I can run into this guy. Like I hope he walks in while I'm there, and he's like going for an energy drink too, and he like looks at me, and we like just lock eyes, and then
just stare at each
and
other.
I hope you're there too. So then
we all
look
just
at
stare
you, and then
there
you
should
be.
It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're all just staring at each other.
Yeah, all three of you guys should be in there.
It's zoomed in eyes,
I think that, one of you should be grabbing a drink from the fridge, one of you's grabbing a snack, one of you's like coming out of the bathroom. I bet.
That's how he realizes who the real one is. He goes,
He'll probably just
you
leave.
go for the drink. Who are these other freaking guys?
Yeah, until he pulls out a gun.
He's
Scary.
like, those two need to go.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the evil one of us. Maybe like God made the twins, and then there's like this evil doppelganger out there, and that's him. But why would he have a wife and kid? I don't know.
Yeah, so this is interesting, but that's like
It's a
again,
huge
like,
tangent, but it's funny.
doppelganger's a little bit more sinister, right? In the sense that there's always something bad that comes out of it, right?
Yeah.
This guy's a little sinister because he's causing us havoc going into that grocery store.
All right, and I just wanted to cover one of the things I thought was really interesting. So one of the most famous examples of the doppelganger is in Edgar Edgar Allan Poe's short story William Wilson. It says, in this tale, the main character meets his doppelganger as a child. He's persistently followed by his doppelganger, and the doppelganger causes trouble in the character's life. And when the main character tries to do evil or unethical things, the doppelganger tries to stop him. But in a rage, the protagonist kills his doppelganger, and he realizes it's a reflection of his own self. So now he probably no longer has a reflection. I thought that was kind of a cool story.
You mean talking about like in a mirror?
Yeah. So now when he looks in the mirror or in the water reflection, it's gone now.
That's like in every
which
scary
is creepy
movie
too, right?
Yeah, but
that idea.
Well, it makes sense, but like that kind of stuff's like all over YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about like somebody's in a mirror. It makes you not even want to look in a mirror.
No.
Jared, haven't you told me something about
I
a mirror?
will not. Hey, just so you guys know, I won't own a mirror in this house except for the one in the bathroom, just to do like whatever I need to do to pluck the unibrow and to like do the basic things. But I'm out of here. I won't have a mirror in this house, you guys. It's just too much. I can't walk by a mirror and like, what am I gonna see? Especially being like living alone, you know.
There's some cultures out there too that it's just part of their culture that they cover mirrors up because they believe that family members that have passed away or just that it's some kind of a portal, right? That they can come back and forth, and so there might be some truth to that.
There's something whack AF happening with mirrors. That's why I don't mess around with them. TJ Maxx has them on sale for like $10 every time. Why?
Yeah.
Ask those moms that turn them in, like return them on Sundays, because I used to work there. That did happen.
Yeah, that's weird. So what do we got? Do we have any
But weren't you gonna tell a story about you said Jane Sini or whatever her name was, but there's a different one you were gonna say? Or no?
I think Roman's gonna pull it up, but yeah, there's I wanted to get to some of the other ones that maybe don't get quite the credit, but they're all over the place. It's amazing if you actually look up.
That one right there.
People are posting stories all over the place. Oh, and there goes one of our little alien guys.
Sorry, I'll fix it. This guy can handle it.
See, these guys are doppelgangers right here too.
The greenish color. Wait, is that the blue one?
So mine's
blue.
One, that one's like a greenish teal going on, and then Roman's the gray, the classic gray.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did want to go through a story, and actually we have a call-in that left a recording.
Oh, yeah. We do.
That we need to make sure we get on the show.
This is gonna be good, you guys. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
And this one relates to doppelgangers, or?
Yeah, it's interesting because like when you think doppelganger, you can't help but you can't like neglect spiritual things either, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's hard for people to not make the connection between seeing like this minister double of themselves in something apparition or ghostly. Like they kind of go hand in hand in a way. I
think so. Yeah.
Especially when you hear stories of people trying to grab them or they'll walk through a wall or something. It's really interesting, but it's not. It's like an apparition that's identical, but it has a sinister purpose to either try to ruin your life or do something that,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just real quick, imagine if you're one of these evil entities and you're trying to, put the power over somebody, right? You're trying to control them somehow. What a better way to, if you have the power, right, to turn into somebody that, you can, use as sort of a conduit to, bring along your evil plan or something. Like, that's just I would do it, if you're one of those evil entities.
Well, what's the purpose? That's what I wonder, is like, what's the purpose of these things? Are they like, if this is an actual entity, right? And there's something truth to that because they are being seen all over the place, all over the world.
It's almost like there's something that's
do they want your soul?
I don't know, because it already takes the form of you, right? So it's already an exact double of you, and it makes you wonder, like, what is the purpose, right? A lot of stories that people have are they do something to try to ruin or bring down their life in some way. So they're very destructive, they're very ominous, but it does make you wonder, are they missing a piece of the real person? Could they try to replace a real person?
They're missing the heart shape.
Well, that is one thing that comes up a lot in some of these stories, is that there is one thing that's off. Just like the whole black-eyed kid thing.
Yeah. They say something that's like they'll go running up to somebody with no shirt and it's in the middle of winter, or they'll say, "What time is it?" and they already, like, anybody can tell it's like late, or is it morning and it's night or something.
See, the whole point of the show is we're always trying to tie in all these stories we read about, all these things we hear about. It's like there's always these connections, and we start seeing them as you're reading the stories, right? And as you start hearing from individuals telling their personal stories, Reddit stories, right? You're like, wow, that sounds eerily similar to the last thing I heard, and you start seeing all these little points that kind of come together. At least that's the way I'm starting to see it as time. But then you have more questions too.
We're stuck in the rabbit hole, my friends, and you guys are here with us. So how does it feel? Because There's tendons that
It's-
connect to everything. Just say no, it's a freeway brain and it's over. Like
It does. It really it hurts your head talking or thinking about some of these things too, because it's like these people are really experiencing these kinds of things, and yet they're just as baffled as we are. Like they have more. They end up leaving with more questions.
Always. Always.
than answers.
And you hear that from all of our favorite podcasters. Shout out Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles. Shout out Paranormal Portal. Brent Thomas over there. We just watching his show.
Jim Harold, the
Jim
Podfather.
Harold. Shout out Dogman. What's his name? Vic Cundiv. All these guys.
Yeah.
They all say the same thing, and we're saying it now too because it's just what happens. Like you start researching, and guess what? The rabbit hole goes to another hole, and goes to another hole, and then it connects like a perfect freaking train, and we still don't know what it is. That's the problem.
I think that the best conclusion that we can come up with tonight is that the things around us are so much more complicated than we can possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any one of us is really going to figure everything out and how things work.
Period.
But nonetheless, it makes a show. It's good to talk about. I think there's probably millions of people out there that have the same amount of questions. They have the same amount of things, and they're just looking for a media outlet that can resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we hope that you guys found our show, and maybe some of you listeners right out there never heard of a doppelganger, right? So we're hoping that this is news to you, right?
Right.
A lot of you have heard of it before, and it's probably not news, but we still hope that you take something fun out of the show tonight.
Always. So let's have Sean read this story, and then we'll take a break after that.
Yeah. So this story is from Redditor Quiet Voice 4846, and it's titled "Seeing Herself Out of the Corner of Her Eye." Late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can see myself still standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye. It's like the other me is watching me leave the bathroom. It terrifies me to the point where I almost run out without looking directly at the mirror. I never told my husband about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Earlier today, I took a nap in our bed while he sat in the chair next to it watching TV. And when I woke up, he told me that he had seen me sit up and crawl backwards to the edge. Right then and there, stop, huh? We're done.
You're good.
No more crawling backwards. That's it. Yeah,
Dude, that sounds psycho.
Anytime we have that, we're done. So the story continues. So he crawls backwards to the edge of the bed and stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. I'm trying to picture what kind of room this is.
It's freaky, I'm sure.
Anyway, the story continues. He thought it was weird that I got up like that because I'm in my last month of my pregnancy and I can't really move so well without hurting. So he tried talking to me, and when I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there and still sleeping in my bed. I got really creeped out, and I finally told him about what I'd been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't really want to talk about it anymore because he thinks it will give whatever it is power or energy. I don't know what it wants or why we have both seen it. And that's where the story ends. So,
Jeez.
I'm kind of with him on that vibe where he says it gives it power. Like, I'd probably be like trying to dodge it too a little bit. Like, I mean, yeah, you gotta pray through the house and just do the right thing. I mean, the word Jesus is huge power, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I
thought it was
that's
interesting
crazy.
how it was, how she was pregnant. Like that threw me off. That whole story right there at that point all of a sudden, took a different turn.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking of demonic entities like trying to, hijack the pregnancy or, cause some problems for this newborn life that's coming, And,
Yeah.
And it made a lot more sense all of a sudden. This thing is hanging out trying to cause problems for their family, right?
Yeah. Like, right, it's a premonition, right?
Yeah.
Before they
Yeah,
have a
it's-
baby and stuff,
Yeah, it's just weird. It's funny because it's like all these are themes, right? Like they have similar themes. They have similar, like intentions. Like if you were to ask someone what's the difference between this and a haunting, right? Like literally, what would be the difference between a doppelganger story and a haunting? I'm sure there's differences, but it just seems like very. I mean, what would be the purpose of that? Like to throw somebody off. It's just weird. It's almost like disorienting. I don't know. Maybe we can find some a little bit more answers during our break. But
well, the female was seeing it the most, and so that's why I think it was messing with her to try to hijack the pregnancy.
Could
It
it?
was trying to do something to her mentally and physically so that
Do you guys think
cause an issue for the baby or something.
Do you guys think it could be that she what if it was like she was seeing herself as not good enough for something? Like, what if because she's pregnant, she's just like an off spitball thought process, right? But I like to think about every aspect, just like Sean. We always talk about this, right?
Yeah.
But what if she was just like having sort of a mental breakdown, and she was thinking about like, oh, I'm not gonna be a good mom, and like I don't know if this is their first kid or not. Doesn't really say, right? But that could be the thought. Maybe she saw herself in the mirror, got creeped out, and he saw something different because they're stressed as all get out, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But
they're sleep deprived and all that kind of stuff. And no, I think the credence happened when he finally saw the thing.
I think you're right. Yeah.
She was seeing it, and so like for a while there, maybe she had those kind of thoughts like, oh, am I losing it? Is it just hormones, whatever?
It wasn't.
But then as soon as he saw it, it's like, okay, this thing's real.
Yeah, you're right.
And creepy.
But hey, I mean, yeah, it's definitely creepy. It's like a premonition or something, like trying to destroy their life, or something.
It's almost. It just seems like it really just seems like that it wants to take. It wants like to take over you, and so it's like it's whatever this thing is like it's duplicating your appearance until it can finally get to a point where it can maybe. I don't want to say possession. It's almost like a pre-possession thing. I don't know. It's like.
I'm gonna throw something out there that I think might be a little slightly off topic, but I think it's pretty interesting. Do you guys think AI could tie into this? Like these like doppelganger type creatures could be using AI now to, I don't know.
You're thinking
the
visual that shows up
Yeah.
is a program in a way.
Yeah, but what if it's also an entity too?
Well, obviously, if you guys have ever looked into this online and stuff, there's that when the AI started creating those digital art drawings.
Yeah.
There was that weird girl that kept showing up in it. And it freaked me out, guys. Like I don't like that girl at all.
Was it a story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's creepy. And they gave her a name and stuff, but she's literally on. This girl started doing generated. You know how you just type in a search and it generates art from it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She did the first one, and this girl showed up in it. And the girl that showed up in it was like a wreck. Like she was all scary looking, hair down, like she had
black
like
hair
blood and all that
I
stuff.
wonder what she typed in.
And then she kept going, and even when it wasn't that search, she was in all of the rest of her stuff.
That same creature.
Okay.
And it was a lot worse. Like every time, like she was like saddened and hurt and violent and like pissed off face. It was really scary.
Well, I know this is still a tangent, but I just want to talk about it really quick too. But all of those AI generated art pieces that I see, look, all the human creatures in it, or like the entities, right? The individuals look like they're like in a situation that I hate. Like they look really depressed, really sad,
like oppressed,
they
like
look,
slaves.
Yeah,
or
they look like they're like someone's telling them to pose for the picture. That's like some tyrannical, evil.
Yeah, Sean.
figure.
If you look up any
You'll have to
art
watch them, it's
generated
weird.
AI, they all look like this.
There's no smiles. They're just
Every
angry
single
and-
picture.
How bizarre.
It's really
Like they
strange.
look like this.
And that's another tangent that we can get on another time. I actually would like to talk about AI, and
We will
because
have
there's, from the immediate perspective of AI, I'm just going to throw this out there. It seems to be like a creative tool. It's going to be something to help humanity. This, that, and the other. That's the narrative. I do actually think that there's several layers of underlying.
Foreboding?
Like foreboding
Like
about
something secret
AI.
going
I
on.
think that there's some intention from some source to actually try to replace the human factor
Mhm.
on purpose, right? I think that something somewhere has decided that the human factor is a threat, and it would rather have, these.
This pretend version.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
know what? Could that be a spiritual? Could there be some sort of a spiritual manifestation of trying to duplicate but remove the human factor?
There's definitely, I think, some truth to that because look at the movies like Megan that just came out. She's an AI like person, she's a real person, not a real person. Wow, she's like a Chucky doll, but like
Okay.
a life-size AI version.
Interesting.
And she like is made for the girl in the show, like the little young girl, but she's like her best friend. But then she starts overprotecting her and stuff. It's the stuff I always talk about with smart homes, just as a tangent too. But like with smart homes, I do believe that eventually they'll start like knowing your patterns. So say I'm gonna go buy some drinks at the liquor store, right? They're like, oh no, you're a liability to yourself.
Yep.
So we're gonna lock the doors, and
you
lock
can't
you
leave.
inside
Yeah.
and stuff. That's what makes. I know that sounds like very paranoid, but like
No,
you
it's
just
really
never
not.
know. There's something going on with it.
I really
Yeah.
think that everybody is on that board, whether or not they want to admit to it.
Yeah.
This is going to, and we're off on a tangent here, but this is going to be a tool.
It all relates though.
It really is just one more way to enslave and take control. and have a group of people that I would call the demonic Illuminati or demonic elite that basically wants more and more control over the world. And
the Illuminati, they
the
dilute your lifestyle.
The Illuminati, there you go. That's a new word.
Coined. What's up?
Yep.
Cue tracks.
Here's another crazy one, you guys. You guys ready for this one? A fast food joint full of doppelgangers. We had problems with doppelgangers at the fast food joint that I worked at. I had 2 separate sightings myself. First, my general manager comes to me telling me in the drive-thru and the register person to clean the lobby. Then he goes to the restroom. So the register person I come up with a plan and wait for her to come out. We see her walk out of the restroom, walk by us, and walk into the lobby. We go to catch her and no one's there. We turn around and she's walking out of the bathroom. We tell her what we saw, but she didn't believe us. The second time it happened, my manager and I were in the prep area. One of the girls who was working with us up front walks back to the right into the walk-in cooler. About 5 minutes of us waiting, the manager asked me to go check on her. I open the walk-in door. There's no one there. As I'm trying to explain to my manager that she's not there, the girl in question walks into the prep area from the front. Needless to say, the manager believed me and finally believed what was happening in the first sighting. That's crazy. It's like, why is it picking on this one girl anyway? This one person, Actually, it's picking on 2, in the story. So, whatever is there is Mystique from X-Men.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. It's a crazy thought process.
So what are some of the ideas out there? Let's just spitball some things of, I mentioned spiritual, ghostly kind of thing. It ties into the mirror kind of thing. What else could be out there? Like, what are some other theories about a double?
Well, I do think that the whole idea of like the fairies and the fae and stuff, like all these old ancient cultures, right? Like the Native Americans and the Celtics and stuff, and they all have these ideas of these entities that will call you into the forest and then you disappear forever, which ties into the missing 411, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of times there are these stories that relate to the fae and fairies that they say it was like a family member that was calling me in, or that sounded like my mom, or it sounded like my brother, or it looked like my brother, whatever. And so I think a lot of this stuff is all tied together. I think it's like one thing, or possibly a couple different things that are all connected to the same source or something, but whatever it is, I think it is not meant to do any good, honestly,
Let's go back to the original, right? Lucifer himself, right? Mm-hmm. Satan tried to masquerade as an angel of light, right? He tries to masquerade as a doppelganger himself because he knows the person he's doppelgangering as. And that, I hope that segues into it, but that's weird, right? You never know. I think a lot of this is evil. I'll just say that.
It's interesting too that you mentioned that, and if you guys are new to the show, we have like we recognize each one of us has we come at it with a little bit different of a worldview and a little bit different of a lens, but I think that's what makes this show unique, in the sense that we're not here to tell you what it is. We're not here to tell you what you should be thinking, what you should believe, but what you should be believing. But I do fall a little bit more heavier, actually maybe not heavier, I'm sorry, I don't mean that, but just like I bring up a lot of biblical references, okay?
You lean on biblical.
Yeah,
more,
and
for sure.
In my life that's the source of truth. It doesn't mean that it has everything, like it doesn't have the cryptid creatures, but we could reference like Genesis 6 or something like that in regards to maybe some of these like these abominations, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this, and I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I'm not anything, but I do know of one case that does reference that the early Jewish people and the time before, like the Hebrew people, there was superstition of something very similar to doppelgangers in the angelic realm. Mm-hmm. And the instance that brings it up is when Peter was broken loose out of jail, and I'll bring it up right now, but it was in, I believe it was Acts chapter 12. Yeah, chapter 12. So when the angel of the Lord appeared and broke Peter out of prison, right? Because he had to go do a lot of more preaching, right? When he says that he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, and this is Acts chapter 12, verse 12. The mother of John, who was also called Mark, and where many there gathered together and they were praying. So these were the believers, right? These were the Christians, the early Christian church. And when he, that is Peter, had knocked at the door of the gate, a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer. And when she recognized Peter's voice, so obviously she didn't have a direct, didn't have a direct visual, but you could obviously, there was somebody that was, it was Peter himself, but what this points to is that these people at this time had an idea of an angel taking a form, and you'll hear this right now when it continues on verse 14. She recognized Peter's voice. Because of her joy, she didn't open the gate, but instead she ran and reported that Peter was standing in the front of the gate. So obviously she ran back to get people excited that he's back, he's out of jail, whatever. And they said to her, "You are out of your mind." So that's pretty similar. Like anytime somebody has an experience, you're immediately
You get called
you're crazy.
out.
You're called out as crazy.
Every time.
Yeah.
Even the early Christian church was like doing that.
That's the reason why a lot of people don't want to come forth with any weird supernatural story, and that's why we want to do the show too, is to try to get people talking about it.
That's why, real quick, to finish this, Sean, just I want you to finish this, but supernaturalstation5@gmail.com if you want to give us your stories, tell us, because we want to hear them, for real.
Yeah.
We're not going to judge you.
Instagram is a really good source too. You just send us a DM on Instagram. I check that stuff faithfully every day, and I'll respond to you, and yeah, we want to hear your stories. So
we are your advocates.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as it continues, I think it gets into verse 15 here. This is kind of where the kicker, when it comes to this doubling of, we call it the angelic realm, but it's the spiritual realm, right? It's the unseen realm, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
She kept insisting that it was Peter, and they kept saying, and I quote, verse 15, "It is his angel." So they actually said, it's not him, it's his angel.
Wow.
So that's the closest reference that I can think of in the Bible where that actually, that references these people had an idea that somebody's guardian angel or some angel can actually manifest the form or in this case, the voice, where they, whether or not, like this obviously isn't saying that it was the angel taking the form of Peter, that it's actually saying it is Peter, but the point is that the people at that time had an idea that angels could take their form of whoever their guardian is, or their guardian person, right?
But there's something that's funny about that, Sean. You haven't heard this podcast, but Paranormal Portal, again, guys we listened to, Brent Thomas had a guy on that was talking about, he grew up in witchcraft and stuff from a really ghetto kind of part of town or whatever. And a lot of these people just sought witchcraft because they were just so broken and torn and all this. This dude was going through a lot of problems. He used to see a demon in his corner of his room and stuff that was really creeped up and, like just...
Good story.
Contorted body.
Yeah.
But what's funny is when he got saved, because he got saved drastically, he was in a park, and Sean, this is crazy. He was walking down the park, and he saw this bright vision, and it was an angel, basically, is all he could describe it as, but it looked like him. He's like, it looked like me. But it was like this big, like massive angel version.
The way he said it is, he said it was like if I was in a perfect condition, like if I had no flaws, whatsoever, but I could tell it was like a vision of like my type of face, like
and
my
guess what
type
happened?
of projection,
The demon that he used to see when he was a kid was coming over to try to
stop it.
like say, who are you gonna pick? Yeah. Who are you gonna pick?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then he knew he had to choose the right way.
And since then he's been on the God side.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's almost like
it plucked him, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and God reaches so many people in that way, and I don't mean to keep this bandwagon going.
But you haven't heard this. That's what's cool.
But I haven't heard it. No, that's
it's
crazy.
A good story. Yeah.
I've heard of people even just come to God and that faith through Ouija boards and stuff too. Actually,
Right.
So God's not bound. But anyway, it's just I did want to reference that when I mentioned these early people even in the Bible had this idea, or there was something about. They had this idea that angels could take the form of their guardian and basically make a duplicate of them in the apocryphal writing. So it's a historically significant document, but it's not what we would call inspired by God. The Tobit in chapter 5 actually references Raphael in the same kind of way. So that's just basically it's always good to have a different. It's always good to have another historical writing to assess
point of view of the same situation.
Yeah, it's just so you're not off your
Credibility.
rockers,
Yeah,
basically. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just interesting. When I was reading and researching about this, and I just happened to be like, I wonder if there's any biblical tie into that. That's one of the only references that they knew that a spirit being could take on the form exactly.
Well, and one other thing that and I'm going a little bit more on the dark side here, but
The evil twin,
the,
bro.
right? The changeling, right? The changeling. The
changeling.
idea of the
Yeah.
changeling. It's literally your baby, your child,
Yes.
Ew,
but
dog.
it's replaced in looking the exact same way, right? But yet it's this evil, demonic, freaky thing that's not your child. Like it's been replaced completely by something evil and sinister, right? That whole idea, and again, it's like a doppelganger, but that one you can actually touch. You can you can interact with and stuff, and sometimes these doppelganger stories you really can't. So I don't know. Are they all the same thing? Are they different things? It's a big question for me.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you told that story,
Yeah,
Sean,
that was a
because
good one.
I don't remember reading that too much, and it just hit home after I literally listened to that podcast that was the same story pretty much, like yesterday. I think it was yesterday
Really?
at lunch. So that's weird. It's like
Which one?
one of those Matrix things
The
again.
Paranormal Portal one. You guys gotta
Paranormal
go
Portal.
check that one out. It
Yeah,
was
Brent Thomas.
it was called like A Shield in the Darkness.
What
or,
did he
or
bring
something
up?
like that.
It was that one where he said he saw his angel doppelganger.
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
okay.
park.
Yeah.
Actually, hey,
And
we're
got
gonna
saved.
we're gonna share that link in our show notes.
We
Yeah.
should because
Yeah.
it's very similar stories to this a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, freaky stuff.
Yeah. So with that, we wanted to go ahead and share a submission that we actually got from somebody. Pretty interesting stuff. Like this definitely ties into our whole topic tonight about doppelgangers and stuff. I mean, what do you remember, guys? Like about the submission? And by the way, we're gonna share the submission. You're gonna hear everything. We're gonna just play it right after all this. But
I'll just say the thing that points out to me. I'm not going to give it away because we're going to hear it here in a sec. But the thing that sticks out is that it's meticulous. Whatever this is meticulous, right? It knew stuff down to the fine detail of. I'll just say his shoes. There you go. I'll give it away.
Yeah, and you know what though? I actually was part of not this precise in this moment, but I was part of another moment that I'll talk about when after the audience gets to hear this submission because I think it's really good. It's actually from my brother, whom I haven't really talked to for quite a long time, and especially these guys. We're all cousins here, but I haven't heard from him for a long time, and he, I was telling him a little bit about the show at one point, and he decided to send in. Earlier today, actually, I hit him up, and I'm like, hey, didn't you have a doppelganger story? And I hadn't talked to him for a little while, and
it's been like what 12 years, Rome, since we've talked to him.
oh yeah, maybe longer.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's kind of sad because we're cousins, but.
shout out to him though, because like at first when I talked to him on the phone, I said, hey, I know that you had this creepy thing that happened, and I actually remember this fresh in my memory when this took place when I was a younger lad, and that's the whole reason I brought it up. I'm like, hey, you have this story. I'd love to have a submission on the show, and at first, he was like, I'm sorry, bro, I really wish I could, but I'm busy tonight, and I'm like, oh dang, and I asked his permission. I said, hey, do you mind if I reference the story because I remember when this took place and when this happened that night when you came home, and I actually remember some of the footage that you had caught during this moment, not during the moment, but during the time that this took place, and I was a little bummed out, but you know what? He pulled through, and on my drive over to, I live an hour away, and on my drive here, he sends me a text, and I look at it, and boom, he sends the submission. He's like, I'm really happy to do this, and I want it on the show.
Awesome. Well, no, I want to thank you for reaching out to him, and thank you to our cousin for submitting it, because, it's a really cool story that you went through. It's a really, really cool and powerful experience that had to be shared. I mean, this is weird stuff, and this took place, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, right? So definitely the witching hour, right?
It took place in a place called Trolley Square Mall, and a lot of us have, if you're from Utah especially, everybody knows that mall is like, it's east side, it's beautiful, it's downtown, there's something really cool about it, right? But then there's something really creepy about it. It's always had a really creepy vibe. And then there was a shooting that happened in, 2006? 2007?
Somewhere around there,
It was right after high school, I think, for us.
Mass shooting.
But it was a mass shooting, unfortunately, and our
really
other
tragic.
cousin, his other brother, knows people that were involved in helping protect that because he's also a police officer our other cousin.
Was he at South Salt Lake already?
Yeah.
At that time?
Yeah, my brother was a first responder to that incident,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
imagine what he saw. But
So it's
anyway,
tough, but you know what? He ghost hunted that place when he's younger. Like it's just weird. It's got a weird vibe there. Stores don't hang on very long over there. I'll say that. The
Well,
only thing that just hangs on is the old spaghetti factory because it's a good place for food.
Well, that's a good point you brought that up because it might just be a weird void, like a weird place where
it does.
dark
It is a void.
energy.
In fact,
Yeah.
Trolley Square is what got me started in my earlier days of ghost hunting and paranormal.
That's true. Yeah.
That location is, even before the shooting, had some really creepy things going on. It had, my brother Aaron was security before he joined, right? So this this location has some history in my family. And,
Yeah.
and
we should share this in the when we do the post. We'll post some pictures of the Trolley Square too.
Yeah,
I want to show
absolutely.
a couple pictures of that just so you can see what it looks like inside
yeah,
and outside.
this place, man, I'm telling you, it's got all kinds of paranormal void. It's got something. It's either a thin veil there, something is going on there that I think that needs to be investigated a little bit more.
Yeah.
And particularly, there's another story I could talk about we
Balloon.
chased this balloon.
Yeah, I remember that.
They
I
chased
remember
this
that.
balloon, and there was another part where it's now not a Bed Bath and Beyond, but what are the catalogs that you'd always get? They always made fun of these catalogs, these furniture
Like
catalogs.
Better Homes and Gardens or
No, it was
something?
before. It was like in the '90s. It was like some
Okay.
other. Anyway, there's a store over there that was
Mattress store.
something like that.
A front
Pottery
maf-
Barn.
mafia.
It was Pottery
Oh,
Barn.
Pottery
There we
Barn.
go.
So there's a Pottery Barn over there now, but before that was there was nothing there. It was a blank shell from when they serviced the trolleys, right, back in the 1800s.
Right.
And that's where we did our first ghost hunt, and that's when we saw a clear as day orb go across the night vision camera, and there was no effects in this time, guys. Like to be able to do an effect, like it took. And we're talking like Intel Celeron days, right? I mean, it took a lot of power to do effects.
This was days when we thought Radio Shack's mouse was the coolest mouse of all time.
Radio
This little
Shack.
mouse that was like
This one might be
$16.
Radio
That one's
Shack.
better. That one's better actually.
Radio Shack was the end that's
That
prime
was
in
the
this
thing.
moment, but anyway, this was the area that started this whole paranormal thing, and I think that this is kind of where it ended up now. So it's a weird place, really weird, and you walk in and you almost feel like you're in a different portal. It's weird.
Yeah, it's almost like the air like tightens. Like
Yeah,
there's almost
you
a
can't
magnetic
breathe.
atmosphere going on. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why stuff just doesn't succeed there. There's something weird going on, and people don't maybe act like themselves or something when they're at work and stuff. It's just a weird place. If I try to imagine myself working there every day, I don't know if I could do it. I mean, it's a beautiful place. I love all the brick and just. I mean, it's so pretty. It's such a pretty place. But
we're all gonna find out like the main GM of the whole Trolley Square is this old psycho guy that looks like Stan Lee, and like Scooby Doo's gonna find him like acting like an apparition, hanging from the rooftops, and they're gonna be like, "Ew!" He's
They
like,
do
"I
have
would have gotten away
pictures
with it
there.
if it wasn't for all you sickos, you
Yeah,
little
right.
kiddos." Cause that's why Trolley Square's so cheap. Cause I'm haunting everybody. Yeah, no, it's weird though. It's a
So
weird
we're gonna
vibe.
go ahead and play this submission, but yeah, just keep in mind, like, this place has a lot of it. For whatever reason, it attracts some kind of I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, like a not a playful spirit, but a devious, like it's malevolent. Yeah,
There you go.
it attracts malevolent spirits, and I think that could have played into what took place with the shooting. It attracted something there for an even more like negative.
And I do
impact.
want to say our condolences to the families
Yeah,
that
for
went
sure.
through all that, and what a horrible tragedy that when that happened. So for any of you who want to research it, go ahead. But it is such a dark time,
Yeah.
and just such a tragedy that can never be, there's no words for it.
No.
And so it was, what a terrible thing. But so we apologize in advance for anybody who who listens to this, that may be involved or whatever.
Right.
But and we our prayers and stuff with your family and stuff. But yeah, definitely we hope you enjoy, anybody else who's listening enjoy this this submission, this story, because it is interesting when it comes to the paranormal, supernatural side of things.
Right.
It's a very clear story about doppelgangers potentially, or just even some malevolent spirit that wants to act like somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So here we go.
What's up? Hey, so, quick little story here for you. My name is Daniel Lawrence. I am the older brother of Sean Lawrence and the cousin to Roman and Jaron Daniels. This is my story about the Trolley Square Mall. Probably around early 2000s. Can't remember exactly the year, but needless to say, just doing some ghost hunting at this place called Trolley Square Mall in Salt Lake City. The place is over 100 and something years old. It was an original trolley station. It has a long history, and it is very paranormal. There is a lot of activity that happens at this place. There's a lot of bad things that did happen at this place. Needless to say, the story goes pretty much we were doing some ghost hunting at the Trolley Square Mall one night. My eldest brother, Aaron, used to work graveyard security for the mall. So that's how we were able to access the mall and do our paranormal researching, or whatever you wanted to call it at the time. We were just, voice recording, video, pictures, trying to grab whatever we could find. So pretty much what happened was there's a second level in Trolley Square next to this restaurant called Rodizio Grill. On the top level, me and a childhood friend were up there on the second level, just kind of walking around, taking pictures, just goofing off, whatever have you. There is a restroom that's up on that second floor, across from the restaurant. So pretty much what happens, we kind of were up on the second floor, we split up, we were just kind of walking around the hallways. Mike had to use the restroom and went to the restroom on the second floor across from the restaurant. As he entered the restroom, there was 3 stalls, 2 regular toilet stalls, and a handicap stall. Again, I was not in the bathroom or near him when this happened, but he told me about it as soon as, it ended. But pretty much what happened is he went into the bathroom, and the handicap stall's door was open, but it was kind of, tilted in a little bit. According to him, he saw some sort of apparition or something that was standing behind the door of the handicap bathroom stall. He could only see the legs, or like the bottom of the feet, right? So he initially assumed it was me because there was nobody else up there, or even in the mall at that time. I mean, this is around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He goes in, he sees this something standing behind the door. He immediately thinks it's me, like I'm trying to scare him or something like that, play a prank on him, like I'm gonna jump out and scare him. He goes into the stall, he tries to catch me before I can catch him, kind of deal. He runs into the stall, grabs the door, swings it open. He's like, ha, you know what I mean? Like, I got you. Like, what are you doing in here, type thing. But as soon as he did that, or opened it, or went into the stall behind the door and looked, there was nothing there. I was not in the bathroom at all. There was nobody in the bathroom. But I was on the second floor. I was in the hallway, walking down the hallway, apparently, as this happened. And Mike, that's his name, came out of the bathroom and turned and saw me walking towards him with my little recorder, just walking down the hall. I'm like, hey, what's up? He looks at me and he just goes dead white, like pale white, like he just caught the flu immediately or something like that, just dead sick. Looks at me, just gets insanely sick, asks me, he's like, were you in the bathroom? And I'm like, no, I was not, obviously. Like, I'm walking up to you now. And he pretty much just told me that he saw somebody in that bathroom. Apparently the feet section that he saw of somebody standing had the same identical shoes and pants that I was wearing. Like, it almost took, like, you know, my image or something. I don't really know, but that's what he told me. So he comes out of the bathroom, sees me, turns dead white, tells me he just saw somebody in the bathroom that wasn't there, but it was supposed to be me. So I'm not sure. Like, after that, he just got real sick. He's like, all right, I want to go. So we ended up packing it up after that. But, you know, as soon as he told me that or said that to me, like, I just got immediate, like, chills, you know, like, kind of up my, you know, tingling everywhere, like goosebumps, whatever you want to call it, the chills. Yeah, so it kind of freaked me out too. I didn't want to go into the bathroom, even though I really did want to go to the bathroom after that. I was like, dude, I have to, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to see it, but at the same time, I was like, maybe we should go, because that was the most intense thing that had ever happened to us while we were messing around doing this type of paranormal ghost stuff back in the day when we were younger. But yeah, that's the story of the second floor bathroom at the Trolley Square Mall across from Rodizio Grill. That's the experience that a friend of mine had that I got to kind of experience. And yeah, that's, to this day, you know, pretty creepy stuff that happens at that mall. My eldest brother, Aaron, I don't know if he does now or not, but he used to have a lot of pictures and stuff. I mean, this was back when, you know, if anybody that's listening to this knows about the Trolley Square Mall, this was back when they had movie theaters in the mall. It was like an old movie theater. And the mall itself with the movie theater was a pretty hot spot for paranormal activity. It's been on a few ghost shows before. You can look it up on YouTube, Trolley Square Mall. But yeah, that place is definitely haunted, definitely creepy. Haven't really been back there since in a long time. But yeah, that is the story of that. And there are a lot of other stories. My eldest brother has a lot of pictures and evidence and more stories. But yeah, that's my experience with that. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, creepy story. Interesting. I do remember a couple of details. I was present in this, you know, when he had returned back home from this incident. I do remember a couple of other details that I think that may have, you know, it had been a few years, so he got the most of it. But here's the one detail I do remember, and you guys probably remember.
This was like blurred in your mind.
Telling you this,
or locked in your mind, rather.
It was imprinted, yeah. And that was number one. I knew that they had been freaked out. Like, I could just see it when they got home that something happened.
Were they both pale?
Oh yeah, they were like done.
Mike
they
went
were
with him to your
something
house?
happened. Yeah, oh yeah. They were best friends. They came over all the time. But I do remember a detail about that bathroom. And as you can see on the, when you were, you know, for those of you that have been watching, I had posted a little bit of a video of this particular bathroom as it is today. And I believe it's the exact same bathroom. They might have had some renovations, but for the most part, it's the same location. But I remember that he had actually mentioned that there was a mirror. So beyond the legs in the bathroom, the same feet and the legs, after he had kind of went and, you know, bursted in to try to freak Daniel out because he thought it was Daniel in there to freak him out. So, you know, that it wasn't, he didn't run out of the bathroom at that point. And instead I don't know if he washed his hands or something, you know, really quickly, or I don't know what it was, but there was something about the mirror there in the bathroom. There was a mirror there. And it's just weird because he mentioned that he had actually seen my brother walk behind him. Like this, like he was kind of like looking in the mirror, and it walked behind him, and he had kind of seen it as he looked up.
I remember
so definitely
he was
something
like washing
weird.
his hands or something. And he looked
I remember like as he's washing his hands, he looks in the mirror and he sees Daniel, our cousin,
out
of the stall.
Yes, out of the stall
and leave
and go out, exit the bathroom,
and watched his whole figure do that, and it was totally him, right?
Yeah, and when he came out of the bathroom and he realized that Daniel was nowhere even close to the bathroom, it was walking from a far distance. That's what made basically
more scared.
Yeah. You know, the oh shiz moment. Like, something just
What was in the
took
bathroom with me?
something just took your form, and I think at that point they were like, we are done, because that was
I'm
not a friendly thing.
Right.
Definitely, they definitely got the, not just the spooks, but I remember they got like an intimidated factor of like, okay, you had pushed your luck, you know,
Yeah.
like this is my power that I can do, and I don't think you have any idea of what you're messing with, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of something creepy. Like, imagine your friend, right, that you're with in that moment, is now all of a sudden a doppelganger, a evil entity taking on that, you know, that image, and he's like, oh, come on, we gotta go over here. I heard a noise over here. Follow me this way, right? And he takes him to this weird place where there's like a doorway to just a drop off or something, right? Just to like get you to fall to your death or something.
Yeah,
like,
something like
you
that.
think of those kind
like
of
luring
things.
them into
So like
something.
it is danger. All of a sudden now you are in real danger, because if it has the ability to take on that image, it could probably do that to you. It could say, hey, look, you know, if I would follow my friend or my cousin or whoever, my brother, you know, saying, hey, look, I just heard something over here. Let's go investigate it, right? And it would just lure you to your death. You know, in these old buildings, especially when they're like being renovated, they've got all these like, especially in a place where, you know, they're in places where security can only go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
there's some danger
the
there.
mall was locked
Yeah.
because they had to lock it down, and they had privileges because, you know, you work security there, and it wasn't a big deal back then. You know, it wasn't taboo. It wasn't anything. It was like, hey, you know, it was very similar to when people go on like police ride-alongs that they
Yeah.
used to do. You know, it was just that same thing. It was like you're basically a ride-along for security overnight. You know, and so that it wasn't a taboo thing. They, you know, they still had people on the job. He was still doing his job. My brother Aaron was still doing his job. You know, he just happened to be, hey, you know, you want to come in and do your thing, just don't touch anything, and you know, that kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, an evil entity like this could pull you into a place where, you know, you're not supposed to go, and you know, hurt you and stuff. Like, even though it is a supposedly safe situation, and that's probably why they're like, we're out, you know, let's get out of here. And it was probably late anyway, you know, 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. So, but yeah, I'm glad he was okay. I'm glad they're all okay. But what a weird, creepy experience.
I don't remember how many people died in the Trolley Square shooting, but I just feel like that place is about death. That's literally like it could be trying to lure somebody into their death, like especially youth, you know, the youths. I don't know how old Daniel was at the time, but yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought.
It's too bad, but yeah, that was a good story, and I think we have a couple more doppelganger things tonight. Jaron has a story, and then I think we'll just see where we're at from there afterwards. So
Yeah. Take another break real quick, and we'll be right
it's
back.
getting thirsty, and it's getting hot in here too.
Too
Hot
hot.
drink with us, friends.
Too hot.
All right, guys, we're back. I got a really good one for you this time, I think. Well, it's short, but we all know this person, so there's like a comfort in a way.
Wait,
So
we all know this person?
I don't know if we don't know him personally. History books, you know what I'm saying? And so it says, while doppelganger cases are said to be the words of fiction, there are a number of real-life cases in which individuals claim to have met their sinister double. Among the most noteworthy is Abraham Lincoln's experience, as chronicled by Noah Brooks in his book Washington in Lincoln's Time of 1895, by the way, which 1800 shout him out. I'm a huge Western buff, so I love that. According to his account, soon after Lincoln was elected in 1860, he arrived home one day and looked into the bureau mirror where he saw himself reflected in a double. Lincoln said, "Nearly at full length, but my face had 2 separate and distinct images." Lincoln noticed that although the images were nearly identical, one was a little bit paler, like says 5 shades, than the other. His wife was said to be very, very worried, and told Lincoln that she believed that the paleness of the half of the dual image was a bad omen, which meant that Lincoln would serve his first term, but would not live to finish his second. So that is creepy.
Oh, weird.
So I think that kind of ties into, like, it's that girl one. like where she saw the crawling backwards creepy one. Like
Yeah.
it was a bad omen, I think.
Right.
It's got to be because Lincoln that's the fruition, right?
Well,
he
here-
actually died.
Here's the thing
On
I
a
find
second term.
interesting about that is someone who obviously is going through a situation, right, like a wartime situation, like the Civil War, like really serious business, right? And then there's all the racial divide and all that stuff that he was dealing with
He had a
back
tough
at
job
that
back
time. And to sit and go and spew off something like this that sounds really fantastical and mysterious and weird and creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if this came from Lincoln himself, like it's got to be true. You don't someone like that who's very serious, who's they're not gonna goof off with like these weird fake
People will
stories.
say he had his demons. He was depressed. Like he did have all those issues, and he was going through a lot, which is totally understandable. Like, dude, the dude was dealing with the worst situations. Shout out, he's definitely in my top 5.
Yeah.
As presidents of the United States. So, but I do think that he went through a lot, and maybe he was hallucinating it. Who knows? But if he was, it still gave him something. And his wife herself said that you may not finish your second. I don't get where that came from. That's creepy.
Well, I will just say, I mean, his wife. It sounded like his wife saw it. Like the way she was reacting to it was.
She
almost
saw
like
it.
She had seen it too. So
She did because she was worried. She
That's
said.
just corroboration right there. Interesting.
I every time when I'm thinking more and more about these doppelganger situations, what's coming to my mind a lot is time travel, because
Yeah.
if you think about it, like this really could easily play into the time travel theory about figuring out a way to go back in time, or somebody goes back in time, and that could be why it's a bad omen. You hear about when they see their doppelganger and then they shortly die. Well, does the
good point.
does that make sense?
Remember how in
Time
all
travel,
time
yeah.
travel movies they say don't
Good
look
point.
Yeah,
at
it's almost-
yourself, don't
yes.
see
Wow.
yourself.
Yes.
That's
Like remember Back to the
boom.
Future 2,
Yeah.
he couldn't see himself. When he did, he started disappearing.
Right.
Remember that?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
No.
kind of that's like an explosion in my mind. 'Cause
Yeah, so
I
it's
never
like-
thought
Sean's
about
got it
that
then.
ever.
That's
It's
a good. That's a
wow.
good one.
It just really
Wow.
makes me wonder. It's like it's almost like I'm here to alter the course of your life.
Wow.
And maybe they do something. I don't know. It just ties into this idea
And
that
that's
like
why they're
it takes
slightly
over.
pale, is because they're in a slightly different universe, like slightly
Yeah,
off
or
off
something.
dimension.
Or
So
maybe
can you
it
imagine
wrecks them.
Can you imagine if that was actually like Lincoln's time traveling image, right, of a time traveler that actually had seen the future, whatever, and goes back in time, and maybe that version of that person's history is like Lincoln actually didn't win the Civil War. Like the Civil War wasn't won on
That's
our
a good
side,
thought.
That
right?
goes- that
and
goes
he
into
goes
that.
back again. And he's
To
like,
help
okay,
him.
you are gonna die, but it's not gonna be like it's gonna be you're gonna give yourself up some. Someone's gonna shoot
You're not
you.
going to die in battle. You're
So
going to
this
still fix
life will be
slavery, but then
altered.
you're going to get shot in the
But
theater.
we're gonna
Like,
fix
yeah,
history,
exactly.
right, or something. That's
So
so creepy.
that's another thing too. Is
That's cool.
a lot
That's weird.
of the stories are like they don't say anything. They just see them.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's more. I wonder if
Yeah,
like,
they don't
if,
say anything.
if there was something though, maybe they do say something.
They just don't ever tell us that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like if this
They probably
was
say,
yeah,
it's a time travel thing.
that's
and
what I'm
then they
saying.
say,
Like
don't tell anybody I said this because it's a future thing.
right,
You can't tell anybody because it will change it. It'll
Right.
alter it. Hey,
yeah, but
this is creepy stuff.
I don't know. I
Cool
don't know,
stuff, by
man.
the way.
It
That was a
really
good
gets
thought.
really deep, but it ties into either time travel, it ties into multiverse, it ties into lots of other things. So
And it also just could be that he was close to his death time. We don't know when this actually happened, right? Like maybe it was like
1890. I don't know when he actually died. I can't remember.
maybe it was a couple days before his actual death, right?
something like last
I want to look it up now.
People sometimes see these weird spiritual things before their death. A lot of times
near
on their
death
deathbed.
experiences.
Yeah, or they'll just see like almost like an angel or like a supernatural entity or these bright lights, like just different things that sort of start happening to them when they're really close, right?
Maybe
when they're a few hours
people
from
get
death.
maybe people get the opportunity to do one last great thing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like a spirit being carries that out on their behalf. I don't
Okay,
That's
this
a
was
good idea.
this was
Something
five.
like that.
This was
Really good
5
idea.
years earlier.
know. Okay.
He,
so
so
it
it was
wasn't that close.
1860. He died in 1865.
So it wasn't as close as I was thinking. So that's kind of out the window possibly, but
Potentially, but
still,
still cool.
Yeah, cool idea.
Fade star when the wave.
And we're back.
Yes, indeed. And we got another one for you guys. Sean, take it away.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, this one is a lot more recent in our timeline, in our decade, so to speak. You guys may have heard of this. It's been over the news quite a bit, particularly around the social media crowd. And this one it took place January 31st, 2023, so just about a month ago.
Dang, a month ago, yeah.
And I'm reading from NBC News, NBC News article. In Mainz, Germany, a family dispute, a missing woman, and a body that had been stabbed to death found in a woman's car by her parents. These things authorities in Germany now say are not as they had once seemed. Far from being the victim, the woman who had been missing had instead found a look-alike on Instagram and killed her with a friend in order to stage her own death. How screwed up is that?
Wow.
So this person who had apparently gone missing or has been missing had ended up finding somebody on Instagram that looked like her. Basically, ended up
Killing her?
finding her out. You know, talk about like creep, right? Like
Wow.
finding out where she lives. There's probably a whole lot of things that went into that, but ended up killing her so that she could stage her own death and
Take
start a
over
new
that
life.
life?
Well, basically
Wow.
to start a new life, because somebody wants to stage their own death, they need a body, right?
This sounds like a movie.
No,
plot.
yeah, it really
You know?
does, but.
Wow.
A movie's gonna get made from this, watch, eventually.
Yeah.
Because it's a good one. Sounds good to me already.
I mean, it's no Weekend at Bernie's, but I mean, some people. I mean, does it just mirror? Does it feel like the world's getting a little bit like worse every day?
Yeah,
It's getting crazy.
way more.
Something happened. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say something happened in 2012.
Between 2008 and 2012, but I would say 2012 for sure.
By the way, I don't know if the listeners heard, but there was like some loud voice
Girl.
while he was talking. I don't know if you guys heard that, but
I will say I live in an
Don't say
apartment. I'm
that
on
because
the
I just told you on the break that there was something going on. I'm very
Well, I will
thin-veiled.
say I live on the top floor, and I share
I
a
think it was
wall
someone
right there
below
and
us.
a wall down below. So I'm pretty sure it was somebody down below.
yeah,
We'll just
Because
leave
I've
it
sound
as that.
muffled like
yeah,
that.
let's
down
just
below.
say that. Just
We'll just leave it as that.
For us
but
heavy
if you
hearts.
guys let me know if you hear something, because I was actually just telling these guys we could have caught in some other EVPs and stuff too, but
Yeah.
that beside the point. Back to the article. The case had been dubbed the Doppelgänger murder by local media. And let's see, it's a long article, so I'm trying to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but yeah, man, this goes on and on and on about details, but in all honesty, it's just crazy that we have.
Well, even just that idea is just so insane. You know?
We're talking about like, and this isn't the first social media. I mean, there's been actually now countless YouTubers who have gone missing, famous ones who had very popular followings, and it's just, you know, this could tie into some of the dangers of social media. You know, it is a risk because you don't really know who's out there.
Yeah.
But it's just, this one was just 3 weeks ago, you know, and
that was a literal predator finding somebody that's like her, taking an image of her, realizing they're so much the same,
Yeah.
and then taking
They
her
find the
life. I don't even know
opportunity
how
there,
they
you know?
you know,
killed
yeah.
this person, but it's like, so this is a realism version of Doppelganger.
Yeah,
It's not,
right.
It's not
But
the ghostly
you
thing,
know, I don't
but-
know if it's real doppelganger, but they're calling it doppelganger. You know, obviously science is, you know, gonna DNA this person or whatever, but it's just crazy that they actually included the term doppelganger. You know, it's still going on.
Well, I mean, like I said early on in the show, there's probably somebody, to all you listeners out there, like, you know, I've actually got a twin brother, so he's right next to me. But for most of you out there is somebody out there, I think, that probably looks almost identical to you. Like, there's a lot of these
Oh, I've seen so many of the
stories
templates.
and
I call them
situations.
templates, but
Yeah,
it's like
that come
I've
up.
seen a dude that I knew that looks the same as somebody in high school or somebody that looks. I'm like, that's like the very similar thing. So here's a good example. Like me being a single guy, right? I have a girl that I think's cute or whatever in life. I know I'm gonna find another girl that looks almost the same as her. Like there's other I've seen it. I can prove it. Like
They actually call this a different terminology, though. They call where you find someone who's similar, right, like in the world, but
Yeah.
doesn't have an ominous. They're just kind of living. They have very similar traits or whatever, but they're not like an actual doppel. They call it something else, and I can't remember what it was, but that's something different, like the doppelganger part. And this
Yeah.
is what the murder of this 3 weeks ago. This wasn't like an actual doppelganger, so to speak, even though it could have been. You know, from the perspective of the woman that got killed, it could have been.
Yeah.
Right. If you put yourself in the woman
Yeah,
in the
from
in
her
the
side.
murderer's shoes, she probably would have been like, "Here's this person that I'm seeing," and then all of a sudden now I'm dead. But this case, I think this is more of like a setup. like this person could have profiled Instagram for someone who kind of looks similar,
Yeah,
but
right. I think that's probably what
It was
happened
just
on that
tracing it until they
Yeah.
found somebody. Yeah.
but yeah,
No, here's the moral of this entire episode probably is that if you see somebody who looks like you that's actually not a twin brother or twin sister of yours or something, right, in real life, probably steer clear of them. That's my advice. Probably nothing but evil can come from that. Although there's probably somebody out there who's actually met somebody who is their doppelganger, who's actually become friends with them. I've heard stories like that too, and that's pretty cool. But be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I just recently, this is a weird tie-in, but I just saw a news article about 2 minor league baseball players that have the same name. Did you see this post I showed?
is
did
that
see
like
it.
red hair?
Redheaded
Do they
guy.
have,
We
like,
all saw
redheaded
this.
people?
We all
Yeah, I
saw it.
saw
Hey,
that one today.
Algorithms.
We didn't know we were going to talk about this.
Algorithms
Isn't
are
that
making
weird?
us all see the same thing.
Synchronicity.
But they were
Yeah.
doppelgangers. They like had the same exact name, the same look, and then they did a DNA test, and they were almost the same DNA. There's a little bit off there.
Yeah.
But there you
Templates.
go. Isn't that weird? That's a template, yeah. And to me, they didn't look like exactly the same. And I think that's just the twin thing. I'm very critical of that because we try to. We're kind of, just so you guys know, we're kind of sad when like people don't see us as twins. Back in the old days, though, it was like such an individual thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I need to be my individual. Like if somebody says I look like Roman, I'm pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then nowadays, I'm like, dude, you're not even calling him my bro. You don't even think we look like brothers? This is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So we want to look more alike again. And it's just funny how that works, right? But yeah, it's very interesting. It's weird. Yeah, the algorithms are speaking to us.
But what a weird and fantastic topic, and write us if you have a story about a doppelganger, if you have a situation where you met somebody who looked like you and you actually corresponded with this person or something. We want to hear these kind of stories. What a cool thing. I mean, that's the whole reason we do this show is to keep building upon the strange and the weird and the mysterious in this world, right? And so send us your stories, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. It's our first, our very first video version, right? We've never actually tried this on a video format, and so things will get better as time goes on, and things will change and improve. But we hope you enjoyed it.
If y'all were
For sure.
riding with us in an hour and 6 minutes or whatever it's gonna edit to, right? Maybe an hour and 3. If you're gonna ride with us through this and see just a white background with some greens and some purples and some pinks, whatever magentas, whatever you want to call it, then I'm
Your
thankful.
family.
I'm
Your
thankful
family
for you,
enough.
yeah. Because we're just sitting here and you guys are hanging out with us for an hour. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
and just to let you guys know, this like they mentioned, this is the first video, right? We've been doing the podcast on Spotify and Apple and whoever else.
31 episodes before this.
31 episodes. So if you're new to this, if this is the first time you're visiting this channel, go back, have a listen. There's some really good content, really good stories, good experiences from the three of us.
Check out Goatman. Check out Family. What's the one? The Family
Reunion.
Reunion
I think it starts
episodes.
at episode
That's
6.
where we
so
were
start
part of
over
that.
there and just kind of move
Our
forward from
Sasquatch
6.
episodes is one of my favorites. The recent ones we've had are really good, I think.
Yeah.
But those are our personal favorites, right? Every artist, musician, like, this is my personal favorite, and then it doesn't like do as well as like whatever the really famous song is,
Yeah,
right?
and the other thing too is we may not get to film every podcast, so please go and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Go subscribe, whatever platform you listen to, Supernatural Station. Hit us up, hit Roman up here. What was the email?
Supernatural Station 5 at
Yeah.
Gmail.
Yeah, Instagram's really active for me, so you just message me, send me a message there, and I'll be able to respond. And it's just a good place to meet with me.
And if you forget Jaron Daniels on Instagram, you can just instant message me. I'll forward it. Roman Daniels on Instagram, same thing.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and if you liked it, go ahead and do the whole thing. Hit the like. We're gonna try to do what we can to post these videos as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And just to keep you guys in the loop, and then hopefully at one point we can get enough likes and subscribers on our YouTube channel that we're barely starting up to be able to do live sessions. It would be a really
Live
cool time that we
interviews.
could do live interviews, live things, live shows. So
We-
yeah,
we have some people lined up. So if you guys are interested, it's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of good people, man. There's like this whole world. Like when you start talking cryptids and ghosts and anomalies and stuff, this world is so much fun, and people in this realm are like loving people. It's so weird. We talk about this because we used to be aspiring actors, all three of us, actors, directors, whatever. And obviously we had these experiences at the same time as wanting to be actors and everything else. But when I was pursuing the acting world, it was dog eat dog, screw you, I don't care about anything about you if you don't have the look, whatever. I literally spent $2,500 to go to Arizona and do some big acting audition in front of 7,200 people. That was a scary thing. and I wasted a lot of money doing it. But when we're in this world, these people are loving. They're cool. They're like ready to just accept you. So thank you guys for riding with us. It's so cool. It's awesome.
And you guys are all part of that too. I mean, you're all in that same journey that we're in. So we're all there together, and that's what's fun is like you get to meet your heroes in this world, and your friends. We're all friends. That's my whole goal too, is just to make more friends. Too is just
no judgment.
Yeah,
like, literally, like that's what's cool about it is we don't. Everybody has a podcast. If in our group the people we're meeting have podcasts, but we're not like saying we're better than them. They're better than us. No, that's what's cool is we want to learn from each other. I will say though that they are better than us because we're still starting out. So I will say that now. But I'm thankful for their support. Like they're just they're so cool. They don't even see us as like different. They just treat us like as equals. So it's so cool.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm not obviously I'm hit and miss, but I love being on the show. I love being able to talk about these things. It's always great to be able to have multiple angles to approach these things.
I love that.
And I think that everybody would benefit from being able to have, it's like when three people witness the same event, right? Like you have, they all have the same event, but they have maybe slightly different viewpoints on it. And when you combine them all together, you get a much more clearer picture of what could be going on rather than just hearing it from one person. So I really appreciate you guys having me on the show, and it's been good and fun. And please go back and listen to the previous episodes. There's Family Reunion in Schofield. We got Winter Quarters. We got Reptilians under Salt Lake City.
We got the other ones like the Rake, Sasquatch, Goatman, all the ones we were just talking about. Like there's just so many good ones. Yeah. Oh, the Silva one we just recently had.
Yep.
The UFO experiences. That was awesome.
Hey, and shout out to Raven. I still love your 2 episodes with me where we interviewed Raven, and we got more coming for you. So we're gonna do that pretty soon.
And I've got a
very smart guy and interesting guy. So.
And I've also got a couple of things coming down the pipe to where we can actually try to get people calling in live as we do the recording. I'm not entirely sure of how we're going to get a video recording of that. Those ones for now may be audio only, but that is coming down the pipe. So we look forward. I actually have some people lined up who are ready and willing to call into the show and explain some of their experiences and stuff. So I got content backed up. I just got to get the technology going with it.
Sweet. And we'll share if we're on somebody else's show because we might be pretty soon. So I love it, you guys. It's amazing.
Yeah, hey, Brent and Dawn, we're coming for you guys.
We're coming for blood. How about
And
that?
last but not least, I know this is a lot of information jargon, but I am actively trying my best to get an overnight camp out at Skinwalker Ranch this summer. I am planning on starting up my own YouTube channel, and of course you guys are going to be on it, but it's going to be something different. We kind of have multiple avenues coming down the pipe here, so this is definitely one of them. We had a 17th floor film production. That one unfortunately is kind of slowing down a little bit, but this one has been rapidly taking off, and I think that it's because the viewers want to hear, they want to talk about these things that have been part of our life for a very long time.
We have this conglomerate now where it's going to be like a media, right? So all these things that we used to do, the things that we're going to start doing, and of course the things you guys have been riding or dying with us right now, it's all going to be one thing. So or one avenue to find it all, I guess, to make it easier. Like that's the big thing, just to make it easier for you guys. So yeah, hell yeah, we're excited.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Brony, see you next time.
Shut that camera off.